Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk about normalization. So, what is normalization? Normalization is the process of efficiently organizing data in the database. Now, when it comes to normalization, there are two main focal points: the removal of redundant data and making sure that dependencies make sense. Both of these focal points are surrounded around organizing data. So when you're talking about normalization, it's primarily associated with simply just organizing data in the database. All right, so when it comes to normalization, there are three normal forms. And I'm going to be going over each one of these forms in the next slides. All right, so first normal form means that the table can only consist of atomic values and there are no repeating groups. Now, for an example of what atomic values are and repeating groups are, I'm going to use this table right here. So let's say we have a student table. Student table has 4 columns: student ID, student name, major, as well as courses. Now, as you can see, this table does not consist of atomic values. And now atomic values basically are values where there's only a single value within each cell. Now, as you see here in this courses column here, we don't have one value within this particular cell. As you can see, this student, Barbara Cork, has 3 courses: writing, drama, and speech. And this writing, drama, and speech, these need to be broken up so that they can only be in one cell. But this is just an example of a table that does not consist of atomic values. Now I want to talk about repeating groups. This table that we have down here shows an example of repeating groups, and in first normal form there cannot be repeating groups. So if you look here, we have a book ID, then we have the title, History of America. This is the author, Arnie Shelley, and then another author, Becca Morrison. Now if you look here, we have Arthur 3, but Arthur 3 is blank simply because there are only 2 authors that wrote this book. So when it comes to creating tables, you can create them however you want, but when it comes to creating tables in first normal form, there's a specific way that you would have to structure tables in order to put tables in first normal form. All right, so this is how you would do it. Let's say we have this table here, the same table that we had before. It consists of non-atomic values, which means that this courses column right here does not consist of a single value, but it consists of 3: writing, drama, and speech. Now to convert this to first normal form, we would have to really think about the structure of the table and then rewrite the table so that every cell has a single value. As you can see here, what we've done with Barbara Cork, who has these 3 courses, writing, drama, and speech, we've broken this up into 3 separate records. So we have 1 record here, 1 record here, and 1 record here. And as you can see, we have courses in their own separate cells. So this is a way of converting a table with non-atomic values into a table with only atomic values. Now this also works the same way with repeating groups, just like we've seen before with in the previous slide with the authors. You just have to restructure the table in such a way so that the final table can consist of non-atomic values and pretty much non-repeating groups. All right. So now let's talk about second normal form. Second normal form means that the table, first of all, has to be in first normal form. Another thing is that all non-key attributes are fully functionally dependent on the primary key. So if you look at this table, we have a table called book, and we have 3 columns: book ID, store ID, and then the store location. So second normal form states that all non-key attributes, so you can see here this store location is a non-key attribute and it has to be fully functionally dependent on the primary key. With this table here, we have a book ID and then a store ID, which together is a composite key, and a composite key is a key that is made up of 2 columns that are used to uniquely identify a record in a table. So this store location is not fully functionally dependent on this primary key. It is only dependent on the store ID. So this table is not in second normal form. Now, in order to convert this table to second normal form, what we have to do is break it up. All right, so we have this table here, this book table that we've seen in the previous slide, book ID, store ID, and store location. So what we have to do is break this table up into two tables. So we have one table that's called book, and then we have another table that is called store. And in this book table, we have a book ID and a store ID now. Now, as you can see, we removed the store location. And this store location is now in this new table that we created called store ID. And the store ID consists of a store ID and a store location. So now, non-key attribute that we were talking about earlier is fully functionally dependent on the primary key. So this store location depends on this store ID, because it uniquely identifies the store location, So that's pretty much it. And as you can see here in this book table, we have the book ID and the store ID. And now, since this store ID is separated from this store location, what's happening here is that now this book table has a primary key of book ID, and now this store ID depends on this book ID. So it's a non-key attribute that depends on this primary key. So that's what second normal form is. Now I want to talk about third normal form. When you're dealing with third normal form, first of all, the table has to be in second normal form. Another thing is that there are no transitive functional dependencies. Now I'm going to explain what a transitive functional dependency is. Alright, so we have a book table down here, which consists of 4 columns: the book ID, genre ID, the genre type, as well as the price. Now, a transitive functional dependency goes like this. So if we have this book ID determines its genre ID, and the genre ID determines the genre type. So therefore, the book ID determines the genre type through an intermediary column of genre ID. And that's what we call a transitive functional dependency. And as you see, this table is not in third normal form. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you how to actually restructure this table so that it now is in third normal form. Alright, so we have the table that we've seen in the previous slide, book table, and what we've done since then is broken up this table into 2 separate tables. So what you can see here in this book table is that the book ID no longer determines the genre type, but the book ID now determines the genre ID, and then from there the genre ID determines the genre type. So we have removed that transitive functional dependency. So now in this book table, we have 3 columns: book ID, genre ID, as well as the price. And then we have in this genre table, genre ID, and then the genre type. So we have removed that transitive functional dependency by simply just restructuring the table and also adding another table genre here. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video if you've learned something here. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And see you in the next one.